Hello and welcome back to the show. I've got my man Neil Shah, the most dangerous Arsenal fan alive. Your Arsenal Jason Bourne. He's back to talk about a frustrating day by the Thames, where we dropped some more points into it. It seems with following that 1-1 draw with Fulham. We'll be talking about that. Obviously, with hindsight, obviously being 2020, we'll talk about the lineup and was it the right lineup? Should we have gone a little bit stronger in certain areas? And our worries about certain individuals, certain players who just aren't doing the business. And we'll talk about that and a lot more. Obviously, we've got a big game against Monaco, which we need to win as well. But of course, before all of that, let's go. Hello and welcome, Neil. How are you doing? How are you feeling after that? Result.
Well, the little intro you have while everyone's waiting the countdown, and then listening to the intro has made me feel so much better. It's the best bit of Arsenal stuff. The best bit of Arsenal stuff we've had this weekend. It's brilliant. Thank you. So I'm feeling great now. I was just boogieing along to both of them. It's great.
No, appreciate that.
Obviously disappointed, but yeah, as you said, we'll take it. We discuss it during the pod. But thank you for having me on as always. Much appreciated, Michael.
No, always a pleasure having you on. Win, lose or draw, and it was a draw as we faced our. Seems to be a bit of a nemesis at the moment. Fulham, we can't seem to get over them. Apart, we beat them 3-0 a couple of seasons ago. I think that's when Trossard got a hat trick of assists, I believe. And since then, we've had big problems with them. Obviously we dropped. What was it? 5 points against them last year, and obviously dropped 2 more yesterday. Obviously, let's start from the top, Neil, with the lineup. Obviously, with it being hindsight, as I said before, being 2020, the first thing that pops up is Partey at right back again, because obviously we've just had this crazy issue with our left back's just not staying fit. It's just getting ridiculous at the moment. But looking at that, for me, again, you're taking that Partey, who's been our best midfielder, this season, and you're moving Timber over to the left, who has built up a really, really strong sort of connection with Saka and Odegaard. So the positions that have kind of worked well for you, especially that right-hand side, because that's kind of unlocked all the creativity again. What's your thoughts on that? And obviously, some people said Jorginho did well. He kept things ticking over, but I kind of think that he could have. He kind of needs to. Again, I think he's erred on the side of caution again, hasn't he? By doing that. So, what's your thoughts on the lineup and just how that affected that first half performance?
Look, the old adage, why mend something that's not broken? That's the first thing. I completely am on board with you with respect to Timber. I mean, I just don't understand that. Yes, he's effective in both positions. Let's not kind of get away from that notion that he's stronger on one side. He's a tremendous player, and I think wherever he plays, he seems to put in a shift. But having said that, we were only talking, I don't know whether it was with you or on the Purely Pod, but we were saying that he's gone on the right. And in fact, I think I was saying that he might even have, keep Ben White out when he comes back from, his injury and he's ready to play again, because I think as good as White is, and I love Ben White, by the way, but I think Timber adds a little bit more. And I think the link and the relationship, White used to have that relationship with Odegaard and Saka, and they'd do those triangles, which was very difficult to defend against. I think Timber's was doing that, demonstrating that, plus some extra as well. And I think White's weakness maybe have always been one of the slightly trickier wingers, whereas defensively, I think Timber is stronger in that respect. So you've got a good mix of three players there on the right hand side. But what do? You move it back to him to left back, right? That makes sense. You bring Partey, who's been probably, I would say, although Rice is starting to show a bit more form recently, but you'd say overall Partey has been our best midfielder. And what do? You stick him at right back. Now, again, Partey in his appearances as a right back hasn't been ineffective. He's done the best that he possibly can. But again, you're taking away a player's best position or strongest position to do what? I mean, okay, we have a problem at left back, but why then is Tierney and or Skelly sitting on the subs bench then? Why doesn't he trust Skelly to come in? Just as the way that I feel that he hasn't given Ethan enough minutes. It wasn't as if he was going to be up against Real Madrid or up against Manchester City or Liverpool, and that's with all due respect to Fulham, because they are a tricky side away. They've shown that, I don't think we've beaten them at all for the last couple of seasons. They seem to be our bogey side, but you've still got to have trust. A player has got to start somewhere, Michael, and if not him, then why are you getting Tierney trained up, and why is he on the subs bench? What, just to sit there and have a good ticket, a good seat? It doesn't make any sense. And then if you talk about, Jorginho, look, don't get me wrong, I like Jorginho a lot. I think he's a tremendous signing, actually. He's one of the better signings from Chelsea that we've had over the years. And I think he's a good player, and he's a very smart player. He may not be the quickest, but he's a very smart player, and he does tend to get us out of trouble at times, and he does also can be good going forward in an attacking sense. But like you said, I think it's erring on the side of caution. Why is he doing that? We've just come off a run of 4 games where we have blitzed the teams. We've scored 15 goals in 4 games. Odegaard, it's no coincidence, Odegaard comes back. We play more possession football. We have more control, and we're scoring goals. But yet, what does he do? He goes on back. He regresses again. And that's on the manager. And I don't understand that. I don't get it. I don't understand. Just because one player, one position is out. And the other thing I'd say is I'm still going to cry till I'm blue. Trossard is better as a sub. I think he should have started Martinelli. Maybe that may have made a difference. But I had a wild thought this morning when I was on Jack's pod. I was thinking, why not Martinelli and Tierney on that side to start with and see how it went? Because I do remember when Tierney was linking up well with Martinelli in the early days. It's a big risk, huge risk. Tierney hasn't played for God knows how long. Yeah. And it's a massive risk. But if you don't try, Michael, you're not going to know. And then you have got 5 substitutes, if it's not working, to change it. So these are look, this is all throwing it in the air and just some initial thoughts, but that's how I kind of saw it.
Yeah, I agree with the Tierney shout. A few people were saying that, the argument was obviously he's not played, he's not kicked a ball in 6 months, obviously after he got injured playing for Scotland in the Euros. Obviously he's been on the bench for the last couple of match days. But yeah, I just think you've got to trust in your squad. You either go Lewis Skelly and you either go Tierney, or you give one 60 minutes and you give the other one time, or then you bring Timber over to that left hand side, and then you make that changeover, switch it around. You go into that game with the confidence of, like as you said, getting all those goals in the game, the run that we've been on since the international break. Just keep it going, because we have to be on the front foot. The cautious nature that we seem to have has not done us any favors so far this season, and we can only see that. So why have you reverted back to that? Just try and stay on the front foot, and and try and get these points and close the gap. And then having said all that, we could have nicked it at the end with Martinelli. It seems to be with Martinelli obviously being offside. It seems to be we're getting punished for them, for some crazy things at the moment. If you look at the stats for the game, obviously Fulham, they had I think they had 2 shots, in the game. 2 of them were in target. Compared to our 12, we basically dominated the whole game, but we just lacked that clinical edge. I thought No, we've got some really real big problems with our attack. Which is crazy to say with what we've done over the last couple of games. But I just think the likes of Havertz, Jesus as well. I mean, we don't really want to crucify Jesus. Obviously it's been done before. Around this time of year. You know what I mean? We don't want to do that again. But Martinelli, Trossard, Sterling's not even getting a look in as well. The only ones you can kind of go, who you go to are Saka and Odegaard again. And I just can't believe that we're in this situation that, whatever you want to call it, phase 5, or the money that we spent, he's not done anything significant in the attack, investing significantly as for a forward. People say, oh, well, it's all right, we've got Havertz. But Havertz wasn't bought to be the 9, was he? Right from the bat, Arteta said he's there to play left 8, and it didn't work. He just looked like a fish out of water. And then obviously things changed in January, and then we put him up front, and he had a little purple patch, and he had almost seemed like he had a bit of he wasn't burdened by the responsibility of playing in that position he weren't too keen or too sure about, and one that he was kind of used to with Chelsea. And he was being found more because he had a bunch of players around him who kind of trusted him in that position rather than in midfield. But for me, I'm going forward a little bit. We've got to go back on their goal. What did you think of that? I just thought it was poor from Kiwior and a little bit from Saliba. And to be fair to Saliba, he definitely changed, upped his game after that. I thought he was outstanding yesterday, and that's just not even the goal as well. I thought him and Rice were the two that really could come out of that game with a lot of credit. But again, it's down that left-hand side, wasn't it? That ball was played down the left-hand side where we've rejuggled things again, Neil. What's your thoughts on him? I mean, we need to get Gabriel back as soon as we bloody well can, because that game yesterday was the kind of game we needed. Kind of a warrior like that. I think Rice definitely rose to the challenge. He was really driving and he kind of loved that situation. But what's your thoughts on just that? The way we gave the goal away. I thought it was offside. I was praying it was offside. It looked like it was, but it wasn't. But what was your thoughts on just how we conceded that goal? And it looks like we're just letting in some really soft goals. But is that because of? I think that was a 9th different back 4 he's played in this season.
Unbelievable.
Insane. But is it because of that? Is it just because we just haven't got that harmony, that balance there?
Yeah, look, you can't. I think you have to take a bit of that into consideration. It's difficult for at this level, Michael, you've got to be so in tune with each other when you're defending against fast, quick attacks. You've got to have at least some kind of relationship with the players around you and your goalkeeper. Don't forget him as well, because there's communication and a little bit of telepathy that comes into it, because you just become instinctive, because the player who plays alongside you or in your back line, you get to know them so well. It's like with anything, isn't it? When you get to know people, you start understanding them better. And if it keeps changing as it has done 9 times, as you said, I mean, we've only played 15 games, is that right? In terms of the Premier League, I mean, that's almost a change every game. How is anyone going to have any stability with each other with that back 4? It's going to be so difficult. So you've got to take a bit of that into consideration. The other thing I was thinking, you can look at errors from players. You can think he wasn't quick enough and he wasn't alert enough, maybe even Saliba. But Saliba did try to rescue it, but there was no chance for him. And let's not forget, it was a great goal. It was a great finish, and Raya had no chance. So parking that aside for a second, we dominated the first 8, 9, 10 minutes so much, Michael. I don't even remember them being in our half at all. We were in complete dominance. And I wonder if we fell into a little bit of a complacency lapse, just slightly, that we were a little bit complacent and we weren't expecting them to hit us the way they did. And I think we were just stunned after that. And I think from that goal, although we did get a bit of our rhythm back in terms of what Odegaard and Saka were doing on the right, it wasn't quite the same as those first 10 minutes. So I put the blame down to a little bit of complacency, maybe a little bit of loss of concentration because we were so dominant. And then also, a couple of individual areas maybe. But I don't know. I just don't understand how, we can be in such a great position to catch up with Liverpool, to have some daylight between us and Manchester City. And again, we blow it. I feel that this happens all the time, that whenever we get a slight sniff or a slight chance to take advantage, we never do it. We just never do it. And I'm sorry, Michael, again, with all due respect to Fulham, we have to be doing it against teams like this if we're going to be challenging for titles. We can't rely on set-piece goals to carry us all the way. It's ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what Arteta said after the game as well kind of annoyed me when he said he's not seen a team go to Fulham and do this and play like this. Well, actually, a couple of weeks ago, they lost 4-1 at home to Wolves. And a couple of weeks before that, they lost 3-0 or 3-1 to Aston Villa. So I don't know where he's getting that from. His angle after the game was more on controlling them and restricting them to scoring rather than talking about what we can do to score goals from open play and what have you, and rather than relying on set pieces, which is hard when stuff like this is happening. When he's not even watching, the bodybuilder, he's not even watching the game. He's pushed obviously Saliba off the pitch, and the commentators and everyone's laughing and thinking it's part of it, and to be fair, Keith Hackett, the ex Pogmol boss, kind of said that's a penalty. How can that not be a penalty? I played to him, but people said, "Oh well, Arsenal do it all the time." Well, not like pushing that. People off the pitch like that. But is that a worry, Neil? That we're just going to becoming more reliant on set pieces? It seems to me that you saw the fans, were cheering it. They were. As Rice and Saka went up to kick the ball, they had all that stuff. It's all fun and games, obviously, but obviously, I think if you are scoring goals like we have been over the last couple of games, and then you sort of have a little cherry on top of goal from a set piece, that's fine. But it just seems to me that it's when there's a little bit of difficulty there. When Odegaard getting bullied a little bit, which he was in the first half, he got a bit of a whack and he looked like he weren't the same after that.
That's right.
He spent a lot of time on the floor and what have you, and getting bodied off the ball. It seems like when that kind of happens, it's like, okay, we don't look like we fancy it, getting them. The block's too low. Let's just try and get things in from corners and set pieces. What's your thoughts on it, Neil? And is it people gone overboard on it? Or, in terms of all the set piece FC and Stoke and what have you, because you look at some of the stats. I mean, I think you did the show with Jack this earlier, and he probably would have showed the open play stats.
Yeah, ninth table.
Yeah, which is when you've got sides like Brentford, who last year were playing like a Wimbledon and playing like a Stoke, and they all of a sudden have got more open play goals. Than you. What does that say? What does that say about the coaching and what have you?
I mean, end of the day, Michael, look, I'm delighted that we can score goals like that. Absolutely delighted. I mean, the opposition probably are fearing every time we get a penalty, a corner kick or a set piece, because let's be honest, we are devastating at it. It's absolutely incredible. Some of the crosses being whipped in are brilliant. They are very, very good, and probably very difficult to defend against. But putting that to the side, that shouldn't be your only weapon to win games. It can't be. When we're in a difficult situation where a team has got a low block and they're defending and they're hoping to counter us, on a loose ball or something, and that is their mission, just to stop us from scoring. apart from the corners, we have to have something else in our armory to be able to unlock them. And I mean, what I mean by that, from my point of view, is a game changer that can just change a game in the blink of
Yeah,
an eye. And we haven't had one of those for years. I think the last one we probably had was Alexis Sanchez.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And to give a bit of credit to Giroud, he used to be able to come off the bench and maybe do something as well. But Alexis Sanchez, for me, was the one that really stands out. That he could just turn a game around in a blink, even if we were playing not great, or if we were struggling against a team that was just putting a wall up against us. You can't
But
just
personally,
rely.
I would have said Bentner as well. You got to throw him in there as well. Haven't you?
Oh,
Lord
of
Bentner.
course, my
Of course,
apologies.
you got to throw him in there. How can you leave him out?
Lord, you can't leave the Lord out. I've got it. I'll go and wash my mouth out with some soap. Yeah, that's disgusting, Neil. I will chastise myself. I will. I promise. Apologies, Lord. Apologies. But yeah, I don't think this isn't the way forward, Michael. I'm sorry, we can't. And look, and about other people saying this and that. I think sensible fans within the Arsenal fan base can see through it and say this is like what we're thinking. It's not the way forward. I think if any noise is coming, it's probably from opposition fans and obviously the media, the pundits who just want to have a dig at us. Anything they can get hold of, they will have a dig at us. We've been called Stoke now, and we're not Stoke, for goodness sake. I mean, do you remember how they used to play? God, if people got short-term memories or what? We are a decent side, but we are lacking that one piece of magic or that one individual that can unlock a stubborn defence when we really need it. And yeah, I think we got to get away from this thing that we rely on. Well, don't worry, we'll get a corner. We haven't scored. Don't worry, we'll get a corner. No. We have to score from open play as well as have that in addition.
Yeah, 100%. It's fantastic that we've got that. In our armory, ironically to say, it's great that we've got that, to put teams on the back foot and to affect stadiums like that, because even yesterday, the Fulham fans as well, when it was happening, and they were almost cheering it, when the clearance was made, they were almost cheering it like it was a goal scored, so they've got that fear factor, but just really sort of disappointed with, just weak efforts from Havertz. He just looked like he was well beaten. He looked knackered. I don't know whether it's a combination of fatigue or it's a combination of he kind of knows that Jesus is, so far, he's no challenge to him. There's no one else there that's going to sort of push him. People are saying, "Oh, do we get a striker in? Will it upset Havertz?" If you're thinking of that you're going to get someone into it and it's going to upset somebody, well, is that the right mentality you want? You want people to compete and to push along. You look at Chelsea, who spent all their billions, and look at what they're doing with their wingers. They're rotating their wingers. Neto's playing one game, and then Madueke's playing. And when they come on, they produce because they know that I have to put it on, do the business because there's a guy behind me. I'm not saying we need to stockpile, but you just maybe need to get one or two additions in January just to light a fire under one or two people, because we'll go on to the most contentious part of the game, really, apart from the actual equalising goal, which was the goal that we thought that was going to be the winner. And I know this one's going to hurt a little bit because you've been the number one, of the fan club for the Martinelli fan club. But I've got to ask, I mean, what's happened to this kid? What's happened? What has happened to him? Because you saw him when he had that friendly. I think, was it against Fiorentina all those years ago, and he looked like he was going to be an absolute revelation. Scored those goals for under Unai Emery in the Europa League when he made his debut and what have you. Had that amazing season when we sort of came back, had our first proper challenge with him and Saka scoring 15 plus goals. And I just thought his cameo, if you want to call it that, was unreal. It was so unprofessional. I don't know what got into him. Maybe it's the whole Trossard him thing, who's playing, who's starting. It's like he makes the wrong decision. When Martinelli should start, he doesn't start him. And when what, and the other way around, when Trossard should come off the bench, he starts him, and it's like that. I think someone said, I read somewhere that Trossard, I think it was James that said in the chat, I think when Trossard got substituted, he didn't even acknowledge Arteta and Slivenberg. So what's happened to Martinelli? What's happened to him? Is he just checked out? Just a frustration that he's not playing because he could have got sent off. He got a stupid yellow card in the first place, and he's been absolutely crucified by a lot of people, by myself as well. The fact that he was offside in that situation where he could see everything. He could see. He wasn't in the middle, where you can see, I don't know who that is in the middle, I can't see from here, but, that person's offside. Jesus, I think he's offside. But he's got to look along there, Neil, and see that, he's got to be a bit cleverer. He's rapid, so he doesn't need to be that far ahead. But what's your thoughts on that? And just his performance? Is it a case now that, we have to be open for any offers? Because he hasn't. I don't think his game intelligence has developed a lot. And I think what you need in this Arteta team, you need to have game intelligence. You need to know what, you've got to be smart. You can't just go on there and just have your head down and just try and run into cul-de-sacs and stuff. You need to be, have your brain switched on. But what's your thoughts on him and what's gone wrong with him?
Firstly, to just mention again what you said about what regression. 100% he's regressed. I don't understand it. When he first came on the scene, he was electric. He was like a breath of fresh air. I was saying to everyone, all of you guys, I think this guy could end up being one of the best strikers or one of the best forwards in the world, not just in England. And he was showing it. He was showing some really good stuff under Emery. I mean, yeah, okay, he did suffer that injury, and maybe that set him back a bit. But he was a young kid. You can when you're younger, you recover, I think, a lot better from injuries, unless they're really, really bad. But you tend to, and then you've got such a good team around you to be able to facilitate that recovery. I don't think it's anything to do with injury. I think it's to do with his mindset. I think it could be something to do with the challenge he has with Trossard. But Trossard isn't exactly, lighting the fire, is he? He's not exactly lighting the sky, is he, with what he's doing? Yeah, he did it. He did it initially when he came, and I was loving him as well. I was loving them both equally. And I was even saying that Trossard is probably one of the best January signings, if not the best January signings that we've had in a very long time. But I think with the way Trossard seems to have declined, I don't know what's happening with him. And it seems like an attitude problem from him for sure. With Martinelli, it could also be that. But I just don't understand how he has lost. If for me, it feels like he's lost interest. And I'll tell you another thing I picked up on in the game. I don't know if you noticed it, Michael, but when we went 1-0 down, they had a shot of obviously Arteta, and you could see some of the subs. He was almost he was laughing. He had a big grin on his face.
I saw
that. I'm sorry, that triggered me. Yeah. Now, he could be joking about something completely different, but I'm sorry, you're just watching your team fall behind when I mean, it's not just that match, but every match is crucial. They all know they're in it. We're as fans, we're on the outside, Michael, but they're in it. They're in it and living and breathing it, doing all the diets, doing the training, having to sleep early, sacrifice a lot of their life. Yeah, they're earning tons of money for it, but they're still having to make all those sacrifices, right? They're having to do it. So they should understand the importance of every single minute of every game. And for him to be smiling, he should be fuming and thinking, get me on that pitch, boss. I'm going to save this game for you. That's the attitude you're supposed to have. Not him sitting there smiling on the bench. And then, at the end, again, stupid, needless yellow card. But the goal for me is sacrilegious. He's probably in the best position to see that line, the best. Yeah. And sometimes you might be forgiven because you might have a defender very near you, keeping an eye on you. Look, there's no one near him. So even someone who might not even have that pace, it's still going to be probably okay if they've got a decent set of pace. But he's electric, so he could have been maybe another 2 foot back and still made that delivery or execute that delivery. Now look, everything after that was perfect. It was perfection. And I think that's what hurts more, because everything after that was so good, and it would have been almost a last-minute winner. And it would have been like, we would have been having a completely different podcast, a different feel of a podcast now. Can you imagine? And it's just that silliness from him. And is that lack of concentration? Is that what you're saying? His head's gone. He's not really thinking. He's not aware. And, I think all of you guys have said so many times that when he runs with his head down. He's not really looking.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, and I hate myself for saying this, but I won't be upset if he goes in January. I just won't. I think he's had enough time. He's had enough chances to really show us what he can do. He has not progressed at all. And I'm feeling even the same with Trossard, but I think with Trossard, it's definitely, to me, there seems to be an attitude issue. I could be completely way off the mark. I'm not privy to their lives. I'm not privy to what happens in training camp or anything. But from that one time, and I saw how upset he was when he scored that goal against Villa, he's not been the same for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, there you go, Michael. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think there's a lot of work for us to do, especially on that left-hand side. Someone like Sterling, who's come in and just, it's been a waste, hasn't it? It's been an absolute waste. He's compounded it. If rumours are believed to be true, with him turning up late at training and not putting the effort in, we saw what happened with Aubameyang. When he turned up late for training and had questions about his application in training and what Arteta did with him, and why is he going to give Sterling minutes over Ethan, who he sends the wrong message if he puts him in ahead of Ethan, and that's why he's probably not played any kind of minutes, even though he almost came on against Sporting. But you think in this situation, this is a perfect opportunity for Sterling to come in and grab the opportunity by the horns, pull by the horns, and make that sort of left hand side his own. But we've got some issues, man. We need to address that. Martinelli needs to talk to is it Carlos Cuesta? I think he kind of deals with the development, the mental side of the guys. He was the guy in the documentary who used to sit down and talk to the guys and stuff, and maybe go through some clips with him, and just go through some clips with him. Before a couple of years ago when he was devastating. We played a different type of football now. Because we're not that transitional side. We're more possession based. But someone needs to get through to him, because if he can just switch it on again, in this, with the games we've got coming up, and the running and what have you, he could be vital. But it was that, Neil, and it was just his attitude at the end as well. He just seemed to be more concerned in spotting someone out in the crowd at the end. They were cutting to all the Arsenal players, heads down, shaking their heads, really frustrated that they dropped a couple of points, and he's more concerned in looking for someone in the crowd and then waving and smiling to him, and everyone else is all pissed off. And that Arteta sees everything, and he'll see that, and then that will just again put a little seed of doubt into the mind of can he trust him? Can he trust him going forward? And if he can't, and Trossard is still so inconsistent, Sterling is letting himself down. That just points to something happening in January. Something has to happen in January.
It's got to. We're so unbalanced, Michael. Sorry to interrupt. We're so unbalanced. We've got nothing on the left. We've got nothing on the left. And I don't know if you saw Match of the Day, and Troy Deeney, I'm not his biggest fan, but he was actually saying that Fulham actually set up to defend on the right-hand side. You can see it from their heat map. They weren't even worried about the left. I mean, that's unbelievable. You're not even worried about, with a team that went so close to winning the league 2 seasons running, scored a lot of goals, to be fair. I mean, we're talking about attackers, but the irony is we did score a lot of goals, but they're not even bothered that they are leaving gaps on the left-hand side because they know nothing's coming. It's all down to Odegaard and what Saka is doing on the right-hand side. And that, for me, is a worry. We're not... It's, again, we're in this situation where I think we could become more 2-1-dimensional again, because... We had that before. We had that blip, and we just weren't doing anything, were we? Odegaard comes back, reinvigorates everything, and we get 15 goals in 4 games, and we think, "Wow, we're back now." But it's still a bit of a concern because thinking just that one player is making everyone tick. It should be more than one player making everyone tick. I don't mind this thing about, having a one-man team, because a lot of the best teams have had one driver, if you think about it, almost conducting and running the show in a creative sense. But you still have to have players around you that, when the chips are down, or when you have to employ rotation, Odegaard can't play every single game, that someone else can come in, or there could be another couple of players on the pitch that can kind of emulate what he does. Maybe not to his level, but something similar. When he's not there, we were struggling. He's come back and we were fine. And then all of a sudden, this game yesterday, it was just all one-sided. And we are, for me, that almost leads to predictability, and it's too one-dimensional for me. So, like you said, something has got to happen big time to give us something fresh and something new. And with Havertz, I think it could. Yeah, I'm not making excuses for him. I think he's been outstanding in 2024 generally and overall. But something has gone off in the last. The way Rice kind of disappeared. Now it seems to. It's like infectious. Now it seems to. Rice is picking up, and Havertz has had a bit of a drop off. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, Michael. It's for these guys that have paid a lot of money to get it sorted. Like you said, that guy who can talk to them, maybe.
Yeah, it's if it obviously, if it isn't going to be any signings, Neil, it's going to have to be internal solutions. I remember there was a spell last year where we played Trossard as a false nine, and if correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember. I think he scored against Seville in the Champions League last year, and he played really well because he was linking up play, and he's a good finisher, obviously, as we know. Because I think it could be with Havertz, it could be the lack of competition, but it just could be that the guy's just totally been fatigued. He pretty much plays every game now, I just think there's a lack of options there, because the other options, Jesus isn't doing it. He scored one goal in 31 games. Last goal was in January. In the Premier League, goal was in January last year, so it's almost going to be a year. Sadly, his his latest knee injury just finished him. He's not the player that we bought that time, and then that first knee injury kind of took an edge off him, and the second one, and it seems like it's still ongoing. He's finished. Unfortunately, I just don't think he's got it anymore. You saw it with that chance that Rice created, where he lofted it over, and he was more concerned of getting hit than actually going into it. And that's when you've kind of got an injury, you've got a knee injury that you're not 100% sure about. And I think that's what that was about. So yeah, we actually need to invest in attack, and it's going to be really interesting to see if he does that, Arteta. Or is he going to revert to type and just get another defender in, or get another fullback in, and spend another 50 or so million on another fullback who can't stay fit? Because I remember when Calafiori was first mentioned, and I remember I went through his injury record on transfer market, and I said no, I don't want him, and then sort of got round to it, and obviously we signed him. But he's got a shocking injury record. He's got a really, really bad injury record, man, and that was before he came. So, and I know he had a really, really bad, really big injury when he's playing for Basel, and people were saying he might not play again. So he's done well to come back and everything. But this guy, he picks up injuries, and his style of play, will bring that on. He's swashbuckling. He gallops forward. He throws himself into tackles at angles that he shouldn't, and and then he gets injured. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Neil, we've got Monaco midweek. It's kind of is it kind of good that we're playing in a different competition after that? Is it a case so we can just focus on something else, use that to sort of get back on the horse a little bit? Because we're going to qualify for the next round of the Champions League, whether that's in the top 8 or whether that's in this middle group, which means we'll have to play a two-legged game. So we're kind of almost guaranteed that that's going to be the case. So is it kind of good that we're going to have that option to do that, to play aside a good Monaco side? I think they've had a good season. They've picked up a couple of good results in the competition and in their domestic league, so that we can just get back on it, and then obviously you've got Everton at the weekend, who have been shocking, who have been terrible. Even Man United beat them 4-0, so that shows you how good they've been. But yeah, what's your thoughts on midweek, Neil? And is that a chance for him for certain individuals to get a chance to get their house in order as such? Is a chance, where someone like Martinelli will maybe start, and maybe Jesus might start, or maybe he changes it with maybe Trossard playing that false nine again. What's your thoughts on that?
As far as having a break from the Premiership, is that good or not? I don't know. I mean, end of the day, I think every game is important, so it doesn't matter. We just need to get back on it, whether it's the League Cup, the FA Cup, whatever it is. I mean, they're all, for us, for a team like us who, we do need to do well in at least one of the competitions this year. I think they're all important games. I really do. So I don't think that should be an issue, a reason to think, oh, that's, it's good or not good or whatever. But I see what you're saying in the sense that maybe just get away from the Premiership for a moment, have a break, have something fresh. It could be good for us. Yeah, it certainly could. But it's a cup game. It's important. I know. I didn't realise how well Monaco have been playing though, because I thought I didn't really know much about them. It's actually Jack that corrected me. He goes actually, Neil, they're doing. I think they beat Barcelona as well in this competition.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So they've. They're no mugs, so it's going to be another tough game. I think he has to change it. I think if he can try and get back, look, hopefully, like you said, maybe Gabriel will be playing, and that would be a godsend. If he's back, then that changes a lot. I think for me, please don't if you're going to play Partey, don't stick him as a right back. Do something different on the left back position, even if we've still got injury worries there, but just don't. I mean, we've got to try something different. I think Martinelli might be a good shout, as much as I've just destroyed him a few minutes ago, because it maybe, it will give him a chance to try and showcase what we wanted to see from him. And it will, I think maybe things change for certain players in the Champions League. I don't know. You guys have always said Jesus seems to do better in a Champions League game, so maybe it's a good chance to give him a start and rest Havertz, bring him on as a sub, so he gets a bit of rest, and only bring him on Havertz as a sub if we need to. We could be doing really well. The way we took Lisbon apart. Hopefully we'll be a bit more of that, and we don't have to worry about rotating some of the players who need a bit of a better rest. But for sure, Saka's going to play. If Odegaard is okay, I'm a little bit concerned about that injury, because you're right. After that knock, he wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And is that going to be another recurrence of what we lost him for already? I don't know. I'm hoping that the reports come out and just allay our fears tomorrow. But I think we need to change something. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know whether Jorginho plays again, or does he bring Marino back and start him? There are options, but I want to see Partey in the midfield. That's the big thing for me. I want to see Rice, because I think Rice has got his form back, or he's got his drive back certainly. So he's got to feature. So I think it's just them two, and then maybe what they do with the front, and whether they change the false line position or whatever it is. But please do not play Partey right back. That is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting. As you can see there, Monaco, as well as doing well in their domestic league, they're right on our tails. Obviously, same points in the Champions League. Scored more goals than us, but they've let in more as well. So it's going to be an interesting night. Obviously, Monaco brings back a lot of memories, because we've played them once or twice, haven't we, in the Champions League under Arsene Wenger, and obviously links with Arsene as well. And we need to bounce back. It'd be interesting to see what the lineup will be, because I think he may make a couple of changes, especially with this being at home. But then I think the next couple of games we've got are against teams that who are lower ranked, or much lower ranked down. So that could be another chance. But we have to bounce back and try and get some fluidity and some creativity up top, because we're just, again, we're too predictable and too easy to defend against. We were on Sunday. Obviously, we weren't the case the last couple of games, but I think the lineup played a part to that. I think Timber linking up, and who was the one that played the pass to Martinelli for that chance, it was Timber, wasn't it? You know, and some people have said Timber took an extra touch. He should have taken an extra touch. He would have got him in quicker. But again, it just shows you his creativity, to release someone like that and stuff. And I think we need to, if they're going to attack down the right, we need to get our best players there on the right, and just put our best players in the right positions, and then see what happens. And ask questions, later if they need to be.
Yeah. I also think we do need to do something from the left-hand side as well. We have to. We just have to. We can't keep, because the thing is, it becomes almost automatic. Then I watch it. I would watch the game, and even if there's some passage of play in the middle, even more on the left, the ball straight away goes to the right. It goes straight. Yeah. It's almost like automatic. Yeah. We almost bypass anything down that left-hand side on that channel, and I'm just scared that we can't just keep doing this. We're going to get found out very, very soon otherwise. Very much like Fulham were doing. You might think that we had complete control of the game. We had all that possession in the first 10 minutes, but actually they were dealing with it. And that's the worry. So, I want to see a bit more action on that left. And I don't know who maybe chance a couple of players that you might not maybe feel comfortable with. Arteta's got to start trusting players. He really does have to do that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if we can get a win, and we can get that qualification without having to play extra games, and maybe we can get absolutely, the very last game that we have to play, I think, in this group stage, it might not be significant. We might not have to worry about even winning it, which then will give fringe players a chance. He should have done that in the Europa last season, where he put 3 youngsters and he didn't even start them or give them a minute. I think learn from that. If you have got a game spare and you don't have to win, it doesn't matter if we get humiliated 10-0. Just put all the youngsters on, because that will help not only the players that need a rest, but it will also give fringe players some motivation that, look, we've got a chance. We can show him what we can do. So there's that as well. So I think that's what makes this game even more important, to get a win. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we definitely have to bounce back and show a bit more about ourselves in terms of the attacking sense, because it was pretty damp, Squid. But just want some players to take a few shots, from the edge of the box every now and again, and sort of trying to look for this, a pass, a cute pass, or whatever it is. Just have a shot, especially on Sunday. It was raining. It was just, and we know we've got Leno in goal, so we know he's liable to parry one out, and all biscuit hands, like Jack says. Why don't we do that? But no, great chat, Neil, as always. Really enjoyed it, just to get a few things off the chest. Let's just hope that we can bounce back and get a result against Monaco, and then just kick on again on Saturday against Everton. We've got some, we always say we've always got some big games, but the calendar is just crazy, absolutely nuts, because then after that, before we know it, we've got a Carabao Cup quarterfinal and everything as well. So a mental few weeks ahead, but let's just hope we can get our shooting boots back on, and have a bit more nicer chats and podcasts, more relaxing podcasts and stuff, not as stressful. But no, I appreciate Neil. Thanks, Neil. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks for those who's watching. Thanks for your comments, Steve. Really appreciate that, and hopefully have you back on again soon. Depending on what happens on Wednesday, may have a quick recap review on what took place at the Emirates Stadium. And if not, obviously we'll be back after the Everton game. Hopefully that will be a good one, because I think we're due a good win against them, especially after the way they played the last game of the season, when it was the final day, when they took the lead, didn't they? They played like it was a cup final. It's like, you guys are safe. You're not relegated, but you came down there and you played like your lives depended on it, which really annoyed me. But yeah, hopefully we'll put a few past them and send them on their way down to the Championship, maybe on their way to the Championship in the new stadium. But anyway, I'm not bitter. So thanks, Neil. Thanks to everyone watching. We'll be back maybe this week after the Monaco game. If not, we'll be back at the weekend, Sunday, to discuss hopefully getting Everton getting smashed, or the Toffees getting absolutely destroyed. Okay, so best of luck to everyone. Have a great week, and come on, you Gunners.